Okay, it's week 5 of the Premier League. These matches were played between September the 15th to the 17th. And the first fixture of the weekend took us to the South Coast for a local derby as such. Bournemouth versus Brighton. Now, most of the action took place in the second half as the Cherries turned around a deficit to win 2-1. Jordan Abe, fresh from Liverpool, putting through Sermon with a clever backheel, and then assisted Jermaine Defoe for the winner after coming off the bench. Bournemouth relieved to get off the mark after 4 losses. On to Saturday's matches. 2 unbeaten sides faced off at Vicarage Road as Watford entertained high-flying Man City. Well, it was a non-starter as a contest once City, fresh from a 5-0 hammering of Liverpool last week and a classy 4-0 display at Feyenoord in midweek, opened the scoring through Aguero after 23 minutes. He went on to grab a hat-trick and could have had more. His third was masterful, guiding his deft flick just inside the left upright of the post from a very acute angle. Poor Sir Elton John, Watford's honorary chairman, watched from the director's box as his beloved club were mauled, as City eventually settled for 6. Watford's early season form is in tatters, and they'll need to dig deep next week for pride. As for City, well, they're awe-inspiring, and all clubs should be hoping they meet them later in the season. Jesus and Aguero look like they are telepathic, and De Bruyne with Silva are like surgeons as they cut through defences. Another Champions League side, Liverpool, continued their stumbling start to the season, struggling to a 1-1 draw at home to Burnley. Yes, Liverpool were on top for long periods, but apart from Salah, who scored their goal, their defence was still a shambles. Coutinho returned, but I hardly noticed him, and they missed Mane, suspended, and Lallana, long-term injury. And Henderson, he just doesn't stamp his authority on the game like Gerrard used to do. Klopp praised, ironically, Liverpool's best performance against Burnley since he arrived. Whoopee! So to Palace, with Roy Hodgson replacing Frank de Boer, who lasted 4 games. Yes, 4 games. Did a new manager make any difference? Well, no. Davis took an early lead for Southampton, and then the familiar pattern unfolded, as Palace's matches do. They went close to getting an equaliser, but with Benteke completely lacking any confidence, chances were squandered, and Southampton left with the points. Hodgson was pragmatic in interview, but why did the chairman employ De Boer? So to St James's Park. Benitez returned to the dugout after his hernia op, and the Magpies continued their good run, and in a competitive contest ran out 2-1 winners against the Stoke side, also on a roll after a solid draw last week against Manchester United. The Newcastle captain Lascelles scored the winner, as he did last week, and it's the first time since 2001 that Newcastle have won 3 out of its first 5 Premier League games. A mention of Stoke's goal, a cracking shot from Shakira from outside the box. So, over to the John Smith's Stadium. Huddersfield entertained Leicester and were far better in the first half. They quickly got into their stride in the second as well, opening the scoring in the 46th minute. This woke up Leicester, and Vardy restored parity from a penalty after King was brought down. One each was about right, but the action was limited. This was also the case at Wembley and the Hawthorns. West Brom and West Ham cancelled each other out, and the result was 0-0. One worthy moment. Gareth Barry equalled the most appearances in the Premier League, 632, to join Ryan Giggs at the summit. Spurs again failed to break through at Wembley. That hoodoo continues in the EPL, and Swansea's defence was stubborn and resilient. Even Kane found it difficult to get a shot on target, although Fabianski was excellent in Swansea's goal. So on to Sunday's games, and Chelsea and Arsenal were at the Bridge. It was a hotly contested game. Each team had periods on top. Arsenal left Sanchez on the bench, and he had company with Hazard there as well. Things boiled over in the second half when Luiz was red-carded for a two-footed lunge near the touchline. 10-man Chelsea held on in the second half and got a 0-0. Not too many concerns either. So, finally to Old Trafford, with Rooney returning to his old home. Okay, so let's get started. The match exploded after 4 minutes when Valencia fired in a volley from well outside the penalty box, and it hit the net before Pickford could gauge the pace. The Old Trafford crowd expected an avalanche, but Everton dug in and made it a real contest. Rooney looked up for it, and Everton had the majority of the possession for the next hour. United were missing Pogba, and Lukaku was failing to trouble the Everton defence, although he did miss a sharp chance on the hour. De Gea smothered a Rooney effort, and then a poor defensive clearance led to a sharp pass from Lukaku to Mkhitaryan, who showed his composure to slot home number 2. On 83 minutes, the floodgates opened. Lukaku was sharp to capitalise on a miss-hit shot and silence the Everton fans with the third, and Martial converted a penalty after being fouled. 4-0 flattered Man U, and Everton could take some heart from the performance after the embarrassment in Italy. Rooney was substituted a minute before the second and received very warm applause for a 90-minute effort. A handshake from Jose summed up what he has meant to the Red Devils. So, it's as before, the Manchester duo on top with 13 points, identical goal difference. Palace still at the bottom, pointless and goalless. Good luck, Roy. Goal of the week, Shakira for Stoke against Newcastle.